Questions for reflection. In his second letter to Timothy, the disciple whom Paul trained, ordained, and installed over the church in Ephesus, St. Paul is encouraging the young bishop to stay strong and be a good soldier in the work of the Lord which was entrusted to him by virtue of his ordination. A few verses before this portion that we heard proclaimed today, St. Paul tells him, no soldier in service gets entangled in civil pursuits. Paul's writing from Rome, where he's being held prisoner, and the letter indicates that the apostle thinks his death is near. So he wants his spiritual son to persevere in his ministry of preaching, teaching, and pasturing the flock entrusted to his care, and not become distracted by meaningless disputes or give in to the fatigue and suffering that accompanied his ministry. Rather, St. Paul exhorts him to stay strong in the Lord. He quotes what appears to be a liturgical hymn to the young bishop, reminding him that he is so joined to Jesus Christ now that Jesus will always remain faithful to him. Each one of us, by virtue of our baptism, are also now joined to Jesus as members of his mystical body, the church. Are we staying strong? We must, and we can, if we stay in communion with the Lord. The psalm which we chant or say today gives us the very formula which David followed, and it can help to shape our prayer and worship. David knew how to pray, and he asked the Lord to teach him how to walk in his truth and stay on the right path. Do we talk to the Lord throughout the day? We can. He waits to hear from us. Prayer is an ongoing dialogue with the Lord. It can take so many different forms, but without prayer, we simply can't stay on the right path. So today, ask the Lord in your own words to help you walk in his truth and grow closer to him. He waits to hear you and always answers. In the gospel text appointed for today's Holy Mass, one of the scribes had heard the Sadducees dialogue with Jesus about the resurrection. The Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. Jesus turns the question they asked, in order to trick him, into an opportunity to teach the listening crowd not only about the resurrection, but about the purpose and goals of marriage. So now, a man of good will, ask him which of the precepts of the law is the most important one. Unlike the questions posed by the Sadducees intended to trick Jesus, this is a sincere question. And Jesus responds by reciting the great Shema Israel, the central prayer in the Jewish faith. Yet Jesus, the rabbi, explains it with a profundity, which St. Augustine explains this way, and I quote, "The love of God is first in order of commandment, and the love of neighbor is first in order of action." It's the love of God which makes us capable of loving our neighbor. The two are inseparable. The scribe said to him, "Well spoken, Master. What you have said is true, that he is one and there is no other. To love him with all your heart, with all your understanding and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself, this is far more important than any burnt offering or sacrifice." And Jesus, seeing how wisely the scribe had spoken, said, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And after that, no one dared to question him anymore. How are we doing in loving God and our neighbor?